not Staples. No, I'm just curious. Oh, no, it's him. It was for James. Yeah.
Better beer than me. Most people go. But you know what we're doing.
I know you.
We're gonna try. That is. Yeah. Am I missing something? No. One. Our website. I don't think so.
I think one.
You okay?
No, I don't know why.
It's all relative, right?
That's true, eh? But what?
Thank you.
I know you. Well,
I turned it on. We gotta turn it off.
Well, yeah, otherwise there's blue lights in our face.
How are you? Nice to see you.
Well, they do the training.
that's what I'm saying. He was out with the. I don't know.
Don't even think about going.
Can I?
It's working though.
This is working.
Trying to get more.
Did anybody come to the conference?
I think Carrie was there. The one that you mean the one you guys hosted? Yeah. Yeah. Were you not there? Right. Yeah, start this for the quick. Here, Bella, I'm gonna get your, what's your address? Are you going to? Sure. Okay.
Yes, oh, yes.
This is Bill.
I'll drop it in the morning. I'm so sorry. Giveaways.
Past conversation.
Okay, calling to order the meeting, regular meeting of the City Council of Palos Verdes Estates here at 6:30 p.m. on November the 12th. Please rise and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could we please have a roll call?
Councilmember McGowan.
Here.
Councilmember Kemp.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mosey.
Here.
Mayor Modell.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, moving on to approval of the agenda. City Clerk, please.
Madam Mayor, we wanted to note the correction for item 3. There's an additional document to include the red lines. Excuse me. Item number 6, it's an additional document to include the red lines, and then item number 3, a correction on the minutes to include the meetings for October 8th, 22nd, and 30th. Thank you.
Great, thank you. with that, anything anyone wants to do with the agenda? Otherwise, can I have a motion, please?
So moved. A second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I didn't say aye.
You're busy.
All right, mayor's report. First off, I'd like to thank all of our veterans who have served in the past, who are serving currently, and who are considering serving in the future, for their service to our country, to our community, for keeping our freedoms and our rights that make us so special. So since yesterday was Veterans Day, I'd like to take a moment to thank them for that. I enjoyed seeing many of our residents at the Lenata Bay Harvest Festival and getting the opportunity to MC the pumpkin races. There were 84 entries or 16 heats. It was quite a logistical feat. It was a lot of fun, and I appreciate being asked to participate. And rumor has it that Carrie will have a pumpkin in the race next year.
The entire council will have a pumpkin.
I was gonna say, I say it every year, next year, we're all gonna have our own pumpkin,
And
we're gonna have
police.
one heat, city council heat, everybody has.
Police
Get
will
your
have
design
one.
going.
Immediate past mayor must.
Lights and
Yeah.
sirens, immediate,
That's gonna be 2
immediate
weeks.
past council members, they have to fly another land.
Yeah, right, everybody has, I'm already thinking, low, you need low, everything. Oh, you're an engineer, you'll kill us, you'll win.
Not that kind of engineer. I'm about fluids. I'd like to remind the public that the tree lighting ceremony is Sunday, December 1st from 5 to 7 p.m. in our wonderful Malaga Cove Plaza. And the Santa Parade and Opportunity to Meet Santa is Sunday, December 15th. More information will be on the website, including the parade route, so you know about what time the parade's going to be there, so you can pick your spot and not spend the entire hour and a half standing out in the cold. And then I just want to remind people that there are a number of city meetings coming up on the horizon here. We have Parklands Committee has a meeting this Thursday and the following Thursday. Planning Commission will have a meeting on Tuesday, November 19th. And yes, council will be holding a regular meeting on the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. I know staff has been very busy working on some really important stuff that council and the public wants to see, so I appreciate their efforts during that week. And then I can't believe I'll be attending my final mayor's lunch Thursday. So that'll be sad. Did you know that most cities are funded by 6 or 7 taxes? There's property taxes, parcel, utility, TOT or temporary occupancy taxes, business license, sales or transaction and use taxes, and special capital project taxes. The city of Palos Verdes Estates currently only has 3 of those 7. One of the 3 that we have, our business license tax, lacks a CPI adjustment and has not been updated since 2016. And therefore its design is antiquated relative to other cities. And our parcel tax, which is the second of the 3, is due to expire in 2027, and it has no escalator, so it's been a flat amount in these inflationary times. We cannot continue to fund our city this way and responsibly serve our residents, as we will see later on in tonight's discussions. While the focus has been on replacing Measure E, which is the biggest part, it's about $5.1 million. That's not enough, and the council and the residents and everyone, we need to think strategically and develop a comprehensive multi-year plan for funding the services we owe our residents. Besides Measure E, we need to do what we've done in the past, which is identify a tax, whether it's a utility tax or a special tax, to fund things like our sewer and storm drains, which we're going to be talking about and need here tonight. And we need to update our business license tax, which our experts at HDL suggest could be worth about $1 million. So we need to do some work. A lot of people will call that tax stacking. And that's part of why I bring this up, because it's common across cities to have these 6 or 7 taxes. It's important, though, that we develop a coherent plan around what our funding sources need to be so that everyone is informed and engaged and involved.
That's it for me, Mr. City Manager.
You just, a light bulb just went off in my head, so I'm looking up the name of something here. I have a couple things, and then I think I'm turning it over to Chief Alinga for something special.
So you know,
Oh, sure.
sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you guys for a second. The little bird just said that they're not seeing the live link. Do we have video going? This is kind of super important.
YouTube is on and the meeting is streamed.
So people have to go just through YouTube?
They can.
What about Grand Punch?
It's starting. I'm not sure. I don't see any error here.
Okay.
My little bird said it's working through Grand.
Your little bird said it's working? Okay.
This little bird sees no video.
No video link? Actually, there isn't, you're right, there's no video link on the city website. Oh, that's what they're saying, there's no video link. That is correct.
What this here?
Fresh, I'm just saying. Oops. My little bird's unhappy.
YouTube, the YouTube link on the same page works in the live meeting as there.
It is.
Zoom. Yeah, there's no, it doesn't look like there's granite. I just refreshed. It doesn't look like there's a granite,
No.
right? Yeah, no granite, just like just the YouTube. Okay. Okay.
We good?
Well, it's not good.
Or I'm not sure. Granicus?
Yes,
Did you refresh?
yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
There it is. Okay.
I have a couple.
Sorry.
That's okay. Following up on the mayor's comments about, we're gonna hear an item tonight about some infrastructure needs, some storm damage assessments, some going over a couple of years and some from last storm. It occurred to me that I should probably get a job well done and let the community know that we do take care of some of these things. So last year at the Agua Amarga Canyon Creek, which is right along the Bay Trailhead, there's a creek that comes down.
At the top of Paseo Lenado, for those of you that don't know the trail name.
A significant amount of water came through and debris overflowed. And it was one of those areas that you're going to hear tonight about, some areas that need to get addressed and haven't been addressed. But that area was addressed, and that was addressed in-house by our in-house staff. So they were able to rent the equipment with our in-house staff. We didn't have to hire a special crew. It took several days, but they were able to clear that out. If you've seen what it looks like now, they did an amazing job. I share that because I also didn't want it to be lost by our residents and our council that we don't take care of things. We just have, limited resources, and we prioritize them as we can. So following up on your comments, I think it was important to say that. A couple other items. I wanted to introduce, one's here and two are not here tonight. Some new staff members. To my right is Phil Lanzafame. Phil is our interim public works director. He's been with us a couple of weeks now and is catching on quickly. You might have been here in the afternoon or called in the afternoon, and Erica Sue answered the phone. Erica is our part-time afternoon receptionist, been here a couple of weeks. And today was the first day for Desiree Quinones, who's an HR analyst. Came from the city of Long Beach, started today, and seemed to be smiling at the end of the day. So I just thought I'd share that with you. And then lastly, our high school football team is on a playoff run right now. The Sea Kings won their first round game last week. That was technically a home game, but it was held in Torrance because, as everybody knows, there's no lights at our field. There was a coin toss, and depending on how you look at it, we won that coin toss and the right to host that game, or the school did. There are no available fields, so I let the council know. The school district called me and asked if we could allow them to light up the field for their Friday night home game. I understand this has been something that's been talked about amongst the community, and we do allow one game a year. Given the spirit and the timing of it, we are going to allow the lights. I spoke with Chief Kalinga, and because it's a playoff game, we will have resources from the police department out there. And I think it's time for probably after the holidays to get back to the school district and revisit sort of this process. So it's not just falling on my lap with 3 days notice to figure out, I don't want to be the one to not let them play. So I just wanted to share that with the city council and the community. And now I will turn it over to Chief Kalinga for announcements and then a special ceremony.
Yes, sir. Good evening, city council members. Just a couple updates from me. At the end of October, I attended the LA County Chiefs Conference. This is the first time that I had the pleasure of attending. It was an outstanding event, not only to be able to collaborate with other county chiefs within Los Angeles County, but I also heard a number of presentations from state agencies, from the LA County DA's office, from federal agencies, and even from our own labor firm, LCW. They did a presentation on a legal update. And it was a very, very well put on event. And it really brings us, I should say, continues to keep us up with best practices and industry standards. Not only does it do that, but it also expands my own horizons and I'm able to network with other chiefs. In addition to that, I wanted to update the council that our crime stats for October have been completed. We should have them up on the website probably by next week. We're still finalizing some of our stats, but the crime ones are done. And I'm happy to say that our burglaries are down 38% for this year, and that our thefts are down 55%. Our our GTAs or Grand Theft Auto, and not the video game, those are up 30%, but that's actually only a jump of 3. So at this time last year, we had 10 stolen cars in the city, and this year we are at 13, which represents the 30% seems big, but in actuality it is only 3. That does include my update. However, I do have a ceremonial matter where we get to swear in 2 of our police officers. So I'll have Officer Zavala and Officer Flores come up. Okay, so this is a true honor for me to stand here before the community and before our council and recognizing these 2 men for completing a very rigorous process of training and selection. So there are several people who want to be standing here today, but our department and I have selected both of you for very good reasons. I don't make these selections lightly, and anybody, I see Captain Felda here, he could attest to how many conversations we have and how long these conversations last about who we want to bring into this city and into our community and to represent us. It's not just a matter of who these men are representing in the community, but also who we're going to work alongside. And we want to bring in the very best that we possibly can so that all these police officers in the back have someone to rely on when they need to. So Officers Zavala and Officer Flores have completed a rigorous selection process, but they've also completed a police academy, and they completed a field training program, which they are constantly being judged by senior officers. So I know it feels good to be past that. This is a significant milestone in their career. Every police officer remembers their first time working by themselves in a police car, and it is a very different feeling not having somebody right next to you who you know is going to help you if you really need it. But I want to challenge you both a little bit and provide some insights to this community. So from this day forward, you represent all of us wearing this uniform and those standing beside us. Those standing beside us include the city council, dedicated to keeping this community safe and who are grateful for your service. Those standing beside us also include the vast majority of PBE residents who love this police department. But I want to make something very clear to the 2 of you. The support and love that we have is not to be taken for granted. The love and support is earned each and every day by your service, by your time, your devotion, your sacrifice to the city and to this department. But not only that, most importantly, the love and support is earned by making the right decision time and time again and not compromising your integrity. We're entrusting you to protect people, to protect property, and to enforce laws. In my opinion, this is the most noble profession, and we are counting on you to faithfully honor this oath that you're going to take tonight. I'm also going to take this opportunity to challenge these officers' families, who I got the pleasure of meeting tonight, and their coworkers to take care of them. The average person experiences 5 to 6 major traumatic events in their lifetime. The average police officer experiences 188 of those major traumatic events. Those add up very quickly. I encourage all of our staff to take care of themselves and each other in regards to your physical and mental well-being. It is vital that you have family and coworkers to lean on. So with that said, family and friends, please support Anthony and Daniel throughout their careers. It won't be easy for you, and there will be sacrifices, but we ask that you do that to support them who are making sacrifices for our community also. And Anthony and Daniel, you need to make sure you do the same for your families and for your coworkers, especially the people that are here in the back tonight. So with that said, I will officially swear you in. So if you will both raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Officer Flores,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
without any mental reservation
Or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of police officer for the city of Palos Verdes Estates.
the duties of police officer for the Palos Verdes Estates.
Congratulations.
So, as is customary, we're going to invite a family member to pin on the badge of Officer Flores, and then shortly after that, we'll have a family member from Officer Zavala. So, do you want to like your family row?
You guys want a picture together? Yeah.
Wait, photo up.
Oh,
Oh, here we go.
Definitely.
so that's the shy one.
All right, guys. 1, 2.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. Thank you. You too.
Congratulations.
See, we got rid of Jim. There's more room for us. Yeah.
You're in front, you're-
You guys get in here. All right.
All right, 1, 2. One more just in case anybody blinks. 1, 2. Beautiful.
YouTube working. And this is not working. It's ironic.
Add it to the list.
Yes, please.
Okay, so, well, two things. For whatever reason, you're all getting the same text. The Granicus link is not working. That's how we typically stream, but we have instituted a backup, which is YouTube. It's on our homepage or on our website, and it is working. I just confirmed that on my computer. Okay. And then I was gonna ask the chief one more thing. I wanted to know if you relaxed the shaving standards for the officers.
I forgot to shave this morning, I'm sorry.
You want to let the council and the community know why you're brand new officers and you are so uncleanly shaven?
Yes, so during the month of November, we are bringing attention to men's health issues. And we do that through we call No Shave November, in which the grooming standards for police officers and all of City Hall, according to the city manager, have been relaxed. Most of you know Vladimir Valentekovich, who is a very beloved reserve police officer with us. This year, the proceeds towards this effort, it's also a fundraising effort that the POA is managing for us. Those are going to go towards Vlad's fight against cancer. So you can participate by coming into our lobby or contacting the POA directly to make a donation. They do have pins available with either black or blue mustache. Report.
Thank you. All right, communications from the public. This portion of the agenda is reserved for comments from the public on items which are not on the agenda. Due to state law, no action can be taken by the council this evening on matters presented under this section. If the council determines action is warranted, the item may be referred to staff or put on a future agenda. Lucy Padilla, you're up first.
Hi, Mayor and Council. First, I'd like to say congratulations on your 2 new council members that you're going to have. I'm sure the city manager will be excited with those 2 members and probably stay his full term. I just also wanted to comment on some of those items that you went over for the Finance Committee. And I have 20 years in human resources. They've been very, I think, good years and being very experienced. So in regards to saying about candidate pool, I think that, I don't think there should be an issue with candidate pools and finding people for positions, especially right now in today's market. I think that the city will have should have a fairly non-difficult time in finding people to fill positions. It's an equal opportunity market, so candidates don't have to specifically come just from government. Myself, I've been applying for government positions for the past 8 years, and most of the time I get turned away because there's always a better government candidate, apparently. So unfortunately, I think this is going to be my last year, and I'm not going to pursue positions because of that feedback. and always get turned away because there's always a better candidate that's in government, regardless of my experience and my skills and my background. But I'm sure that that tunnel vision will expand, not just because we have a good candidate market, but because now, since we have also a new administration coming into the president's office, which will set the bar much higher. But in general, I know that this agency has been going through staffing issues. It's probably not its fault because of COVID and whatnot. And I'm sure you're not going to resort to the 18th century staffing. So I'm sure that this is temporary. You're going to fill your positions because you need to service the city, and I'm sure that's all going to work out fine. But I just wanted to let you know that there is a good candidate market, that things will work out just fine because obviously Carrie got a great position. So thank you.
Thank you. Evan Coates.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. My name is Evan Coates. I'm a librarian from the Palos Verdes Library District. Today, I'm excited to invite you and your constituents to our what promises to be a highlight in the community, the Community Art Show at the Peninsula Center, located at 701 Silver Spur, on Friday, November 15th, from 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. This fantastic celebration of creativity and artistic expression will showcase over 100 professional and amateur artists from our area and feature a diverse array of talent and a wide spectrum of art styles and mediums, all curated in one fantastic place. Additionally, the Palos Verdes Library District is thrilled to announce that the event will be accompanied by live music from the Brendan Eater Jazz Ensemble. Their smooth sounds will create a welcoming and enjoyable atmosphere, embracing your experience as you take in all of these incredible pieces. This community art show offers a wonderful opportunity to connect with fellow community members and art lovers from across the peninsula. It's a great chance to engage with artists, meet new friends, and share your passion for art in a friendly and inclusive environment. So mark your calendars for this fantastic event, Friday, November 15th at the Peninsula Center, and come ready to have a fun night. Thank you.
Thank you. Valerie Gorsuch.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, City staff, and residents, I'm Valerie Gorsuch, Palos Verdes Estates Neighborhood Watch President and the Area Coordinator for Malaga Code. Congratulations to our newly elected City Council members, Derek Lazara and Greg Quinn. We look forward to working with the updated City Council to support the success of our city. Neighborhood Watch would like to extend an invitation to City Council members, city staff, and city residents for our annual meeting scheduled for this Sunday, November 17th at 2 p.m. right here in City Council chambers. We'll be having a special session for residents to meet and hear important city updates from our new city manager, Carrie Coleman, and Police Chief Luke Kalenta. Our meetings are short, informative, and filled with a number of surprises, and we'll be having our regular raffle with prizes provided by local organizations and homemade snacks. And members get a free ticket for the raffle, so you need to make sure your membership is up to date. Well, you may be saying, how do I know that? You will be receiving an email probably tomorrow, and it will be about your membership status right there for you to see, with some information about our meeting. Now, our annual membership is only $10 a year, but your dues and your donations support educational and neighborly activities, plus special projects that we coordinate throughout the year. Membership is from January 1st until December 31st, but if you pay it now, we'll cover you for 2024 and all of 2025. It's sort of a sale that's going on right now. And remember, if your membership is paid up to date, you get a free raffle ticket at our annual meetings. I see, well, I'm not quite out of time. I do have time to tell you about one of the things that happens with your dues and donations. Right now, we are providing Thanksgiving and Christmas Day Christmas dinner for our first responders, not first offenders, for our police department and our fire department. We've just completed our order with the Ranch Market to provide dinners for Thanksgiving Day. And we are grateful to the generosity of our residents who make this tradition possible. Providing these holiday meals is only one of the many ways we support our police and our community throughout the year. For more information, go to our website, pbenw.org. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, that's all the little slips that I have. So, moving on to consent agenda. We have 7 items on the consent agenda. Number 1, approval of warrants. 2, financial statements for the period ending October 31, 2024. 3, city council meeting actions. 4, finance advisory committee meeting actions. 5, approving an amendment to the contract for professional services with Jana Frazier Consulting. 6, amended and restated concession agreement between the city and the Palos Verdes Golf Club. And 7, the Palos Verdes Golf Club 2024 proposed budget.
It's 25. It should be 25.
Yeah, okay. It says 24 minutes, but it's the 25 budget. I do know the document is the 25. Anybody need to pull anything? No? You look pensive there.
Actively listening.
I think you might just- Okay, do I have any public comment? I didn't get any little slips on this. Anybody in the public out there want to weigh in on sharing some thoughts on this? No? Okay, I'll bring it back to council. Does somebody want to?
I move that we approve the consent agenda items 1 through 7 with the 2 caveats that of amendments that were suggested earlier having to do with the minutes and the concession agreement red line.
And one comment, Mayor Pro Tem Lizzie is to recuse yourself from the vote on it. So I have a little faith.
All right, so I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, acknowledging the.
Okay, so let's go ahead and just do a roll call just to make it nice and clean.
Councilmember McGowan,
I vote in favor of all 7 items.
Councilmember Kim,
I also vote in favor of all 7 items.
Mayor Murdoch.
Ditto. Yes.
Motion passes.
Wait a minute, she still has to vote.
I still vote on 1 through 5.
I apologize. Mayor Pro Tem Lizzie.
Yes, so I vote aye on 1 through 5 and I recuse on 6 and 7 as I am a member of the golf club.
All right, consent agenda passes. Thank you to the golf club representatives. You may go home and enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Thank you for all the work.
Pleasure to be
We're
with
sorry to
you.
disappoint you.
That goes to David. Both Davids.
Yes, thank you very much. You guys have a great night.
All right, old business, number 8, Malibu Cove status about water intrusion and subsurface investigation. Is there a staff report? I guess the gentleman standing up.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Yes, this is a brief update on the Malaga Cove water intrusion, groundwater intrusion. You may recall in the past, over the past couple months now, we've had some work done on Malaga Lane because of the sinkhole and as well as the subsurface investigations. That work has been completed and we should be receiving the final invoices very soon. One of the interesting things we had this last week was a meeting with Supervisor Hahn's office, as well as LA County Department of Public Works, some lead engineers there. It wasn't a field meeting, unfortunately, just due to the schedule, but we were able to discuss additional information that LADPW, as I'm just making it brief, LADPW wasn't aware of, and we provided them a great history of what's been going on out there, the experiences we've been encountering, and they pledged their support to continue working with us, as well as providing additional support in providing peer review any of the technical information that we receive. City Manager Kelman, if you'd like to add anything around that based on the discussion we had with Supervisor Hahn's office, I just thought I'd leave it to you. If not,
No, we're just getting it out there, trying to bring in resources that we can. Peer review is interesting, and quite frankly, my goal was to keep this in front of them so that when we do know how to fix it, we will, and I was very upfront, we'll also be asking you. So,
that's what I wanted to leave it for.
you left that for me?
Well, the money part, so.
They said,
Did they say anything you need?
no. They appreciated me being upfront with them.
Well, I love the idea of peer review. That's been something that I've been, nervous about, just having that one source. You talked about the sinkholes and the voids have been done. The latest study has been done. Has Geosyntec provided you any sense for when they might think they're going to have their study available?
Actually, I did meet with Geosyntec again today regarding the second phase of the work that they were doing behind City Hall. The next phase is the seep sampling. And that wasn't done originally when we had Geosyntec doing the work on Via Campesina and Via Corda. But this time it was recommended and it was gone through. This does take time, as I realize that we have to then work with Geosyntec and the residents and business owners of Malaga Lane as well as Malaga Cove. So we did meet today to get together about addresses and how we could contact those residents and business owners. I will be reaching out to the steering committee to see, because they do have a lot of connections with the businesses and they own some of the properties over there. So that will be my next step to determine how we can get in there, because they need to get in and actually do the sampling at the source. There's 4 spots within the garage here that they will be doing. It's not a matter of testing at the end of the hose, it's inside.
So does that mean both studies, the resistivity and the seep sampling, they need to be part of the same final report, or are we able to get a preliminary read on the resistivity?
Yeah, and just a little bit of background that was presented as well as the seep sampling is there because they had some initial results of the water being brackish. Because of that, there is concern that there is seawater potentially in there. And the sampling that they're going to be doing will be testing not for seawater, but the signatures of seawater. Because if we can discharge it, it kind of goes along with the NOI, but it's not the same, the notice of intent with the regional board to pump it. But the seawater being present, it will determine whether or not it can be outlet into the Malaga Cove, Malaga Creek, and where the water is actually coming from. Because the resistivity analysis they did was, I think it's only about 16 feet deep. And the testing of this water that's coming out will help in understanding where it's coming from, which will then allow Geosyntec to help develop a scope of work for what should be done in the long term.
So does that mean realistically the results won't come to council until January?
Based on the fact that we have to go back.
Set expectations.
Let's talk about expectations. When this report for the second phase of their study, you say will be completed by January?
That will be when it's back to council, yes.
It would be back to council. And then after we get that report, as far as trying to identify recommended remediation processes, or plural processes, what is the timeline and expectation to get some of that information accumulated? How long is it going to take?
Well, the scope of work that they're going to put together for potential remedies is included within this report. That will then be presented to council to share, all right, this is what really needs to be done, and they'll help guide that. As far as preparing RFPs to put it out, that's still to come because we don't know really fully what the scope of work is going to be to do.
Well, my question is really focused on like going back to the county or the state. Will we have enough information by February 1st to make a request as to what kind of funding we need to do X, Y, and Z? Or how long is that process going to evolve?
No. And because there's two parallel paths that we're working on. One is the notice of intent to discharge groundwater, which is a regional board blessing that has to be given. This other path that Geosyntec is doing is really to determine where the water is coming from. So the notice of intent was intended just strictly to lower the groundwater, if we could. We would need to know what we have to do in order to treat or before we can discharge that groundwater. That's
What would be extremely helpful for me, and I'll let the council determine whether they agree or not, would be some form of a Gantt chart that would lay out the various processes and decision points that have to be made, even though the dates may be approximate at this stage. But we need to manage expectations as to how long it's going to take to get to the answers for us to make a request for help.
understood.
And again, given the fact that we're coming into rainy season, and if we have more precipitation that's going to bring those water levels back up, we're going to have more issues to deal with as well. So I don't know whether it's going to be next summer before we have a strategy, or if it's going to be in March, or I need some kind of time frame.
I agree with David that it would be helpful to understand. It seems like we keep kind of just one step, and we don't really know what the subsequent steps are. And so if we could see what that roadmap or path is and all the different things we need to collect, even if it means that it gets modified as new results come in and we have to pivot, that's fine, just put a big draft on it. But I agree, I think it would be helpful to understand the steps ahead.
It needs to be a living document, and it will have to be updated, and hopefully we can hold to the milestones, but if for various reasons they get slipped, then we're gonna have to modify it. It's very common in corporate America to have that kind of a vision, and I think we need it desperately.
Michael?
I agree with all the above, just sort of camp on, and I think it's clear, but not just we residents get, and certainly the surrounding residents that are in the location get very frustrated when it's, okay, we've done a consulting effort, very valuable, here's the information, oh, we need another consulting effort. Okay, great, very valuable, here's the next effort. It's very difficult in a serial manner to see what's coming and understand what we're potentially facing. And, with the Gantt chart request, we certainly don't expect you or Geosyntec to have all the information and all the knowledge ready to go. We need a map to understand what potentially our timeline looks like, to be able to have that information and then discuss, is this some sort of, public-private collaboration in order to solve this? Are we going to anticipate going to, not just local, but county, state, federal resources in order to be able to solve this? From a sort of political perspective, both from the staff and the council level, we've had conversations with representatives all the way to the federal level. And, the general answer to that is, we'd love to support you. Do you have a project?
Yeah.
And our answer to that is, like that.
Got one coming.
So, having a timeline, understanding that, modifying it, and then having this, recurring item on the agenda with ongoing progress has been very helpful. The only other thing I'll say, and I think you addressed some of it, there's been some concern previously addressed, emails and otherwise, that maybe we're not being entirely inclusive because we're trying to ensure that the size of the group is limited that can actually progress forward. And I think that the desire, I'll speak for myself, I think the desire for the council is to ensure that we are being inclusive and that we're communicating effectively, that we don't forget anyone, that, nobody's doing backroom deals. We have this item on the agenda on a repetitive basis to ensure that we have all the knowledge and information, the public has all the knowledge and information, and as you just heard from all of us, we want a timeline and some guidance so that we can all collaborate, work together, and run down the train tracks and solve this problem or series of problems.
I would like to suggest that this Gantt chart visualization be part of the monthly or every council meeting or whatever we're doing a cycle as part of your update.
Sure.
Of the Public Works Department.
To the extent something changes.
Well, no, I think we should revisit it every time he makes a status report. Here's where we are on our timeline. this is what's happened, where the next milestone is this. No, it's got slipped because of X, Y, and Z. So we all have a vision, a pictorial that will tell us where we're headed.
Yeah.
Is there any public comment on this? I didn't have any slips. Okay. I think somebody decided they want to speak.
Good evening, and thank you very much.
Could you please introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, Sylvia Document, 2545 Via Campesina in the impacted area. And I would like to just express the gratitude of most of the residents and property owners in the impacted Malaga Cove area for the work that the council and the city staff is engaged in to help us solve this problem. It is tremendously appreciated. And having this item on the agenda as a standing item is also very helpful. And I just want to express our gratitude for that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I bring it back to council. Is there anything else we did a blend of questions and suggestions? All right, good. I think we're good on that. Another old business item, number 9, regarding a professional services agreement for a citywide drainage master plan. I'm assuming it's you again.
Yes, you may recall this was an item that we had considered, presented to in front of council back on October 8th. I think it was. The master plan, or the stormwater master plan, is a planning level document that the city will use to analyze the system-wide drainage throughout the city. And it's one of the key results that we're looking for out of this is to develop a multi-year CIP, which will assist with the other item that was previously talked about in that, the Malaga Cove, because there's going to be likely a CIP project that's brought about that. Through the advertising of this request for proposal for professional services earlier this year, we received 4 proposals. After staff went through, we reviewed all 4 proposals. We determined that Wood Rogers was identified to be the highest ranked firm. Subsequent to the recent council meeting, staff met with the highest ranked firm, Wood Rogers, and discussed items within their proposal to see if anything could be refined. There were several items listed within their proposal that were optional tasks that, through this discussion, meeting with Wood Rogers and staff, were determined that they were either overlapped by city staff being able to do it, which was a GIS component, or if there was things that maybe were premature that could be done in the future, i.e. grant funding writing. So those items we ended up suggesting to remove. The fee was then therefore refined after the scope was refined. And what you see in front of you is the refined scope and fee for that work. Additionally, we do have the senior project manager from Wood Rogers here, Cheng Su, who could provide any additional detailed information you may require about the stormwater master plan or what the focus is going to be. That's it.
I just asked Steve to do one more thing. Steve, can you just break down the costs? How the costs broke down on this project?
As far as
The cost or the funding?
Well, both.
Okay, so the funding source for this was part of the general fund capital projects assigned for capital projects. I think that's what it was. And the intent, as we're asking for additional funding for this, would be coming out of the same funding source. It's still called general fund capital projects assigned. So that's where it's still the same thing there. For clarification purposes too, the additional funds we're asking for is for the entire project budget. There's a breakdown within the fiscal impact that identifies the funds for which components. City project management being 50,000, project agreement for professional services 495, and project contingency of 5% of about 25,000. That gets a total of about 570, with the 121 that is over the original project budget of $450,000.
And those funds would be expended over 2 fiscal years.
Correct, this year and next.
You
But
meant
appropriated now, go ahead. But appropriated now.
appropriate.
Correct.
You had mentioned both in the staff report and in your verbal report here about the potential for grants. Was that for the additional optional things? Was that for part of this work?
The grant fund writing was one of the optional tasks. And it was believed to be a bit premature at this point to not know exactly what the final plan is going to be. And there was a large cost associated with that we felt that once the plan is done, we get an overall look at what needs to be done and refine how those grant funds could be obtained through specific grant writing. It's not to say that they
I thought maybe you were looking for grants to help fund the master plan, so
No.
that helps, thank you.
One question I have is that in the staff report, it appears that this work won't be completed until the end of calendar 25. Is that correct?
Yes, it's November.
Okay, yeah, end of 25. Sorry.
Is there, okay, my question is, I don't understand why it takes so long to do this, but I'm sure there's a lot of reasons, that's not my expertise. But my point and my concern is that is there any risk that it would be into calendar 26 before we get this work done? Is this a good estimate, and can we live with that November 25 date so that we can have an idea of what our issues might be, or if we have any?
Shane, would you mind?
Good evening, Mayor and Council Member. Thank you for selecting Will Rogers. So to answer your question, I think we can prioritize project with higher risk and get you the answer first, and then do the subsequent project with a lesser risk. So in that fashion, we give you a project and give you potential roadmap for the high risk location.
Would it be such that, as we had our similar discussion, which you were obviously heard, whether it be a Gantt chart or some other pictorial of how you prioritize certain areas of the system, and when that is done, that we might receive some status reports and updates of what you're finding or learning? Is that even viable, or does that have to wait till the whole consulting study is completed?
No, we already have a Gantt chart developed for the entire project. I think we can modify it per your request, like giving you a status update monthly or whatnot.
I don't know if it has to be monthly or maybe quarterly, but I think having some kind of a milestone measurement point in taking advantage of what you're learning, because one of the things that we're trying to deal with here is raising our revenue streams. And if we find out that we get into the second quarter of calendar 25 and we find that we're running into some potential risks in that system, we may want to revisit and think about enhancing our request or having to, or reduce our request.
For example, if I look at your Gantt chart, it says the survey and inspection and condition assessment and the maintenance rehabilitation replacement plan. I mean, those are all pretty much completed the end of February. So the question is, can we get kind of an interim report, and then you move into your hydraulic modeling and improvement recommendations, but at least get that kind of snapshot up front? Is that something that you
Yes,
do for us?
we can reshuffle the Gantt chart a little bit based on our further discussion with the city engineer by looking at location with high risk first, and then give you some report for implementation if needed, and then do a subsequent low risk location.
The bottom line from my perspective is that if we conduct this study and we're finding good results where our system is living up to its expectations and so forth, we need to know that sooner rather than later, because it may impact some of the funding modeling that we're doing for the entire city. If, on the other hand, you're running into situations that may be putting us at risk, the sooner we learn about that, the better we can build that into the overall modeling.
Understand. We'll give you like a more recurring update along the process without actually spending time doing all the modeling, all the detailed analysis. We just give you a status update as necessary.
Go ahead. Section 3.5 in the Gantt chart talks about system, Steve, you can probably address this. System cataloging, inventory, and GIS, and there's comments removing the optional items. It still leaves the desktop GIS inventory and the geodatabase data reconciliation. I note that the GIS inventory has a question mark next to the number of days. Can you talk about what was optional, what wasn't? You made some comments about staff actually performing the GIS work. How does that interaction and collaboration work?
If I can take just a quick step back and talk a little bit about what Shane was talking about, the schedule as well.
Sure.
To address that, the hydraulic modeling, the hydraulic and hydrologic modeling, which is shown in item 4 towards the middle of the year, that's really where it's going to kind of come out and see where the big deficiencies are with the system. And correct me on this, but that's where it's going to tell you the real big issues. Before that, at the end of the survey, that's not going to tell you exactly what the issues are. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I know that we can work with Wood Rogers to, we have this Gantt chart, and we can probably even have a different, additional language within there to say when we can provide updates regarding what the presumed deficiencies are. Because I do understand the concern you have is that, are we talking about $1 million or are we talking about $10 million of potential repairs?
Over how long also?
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of this, at the very end of this whole project, you're going to have a CIP recommendation for 5 or 10 years. Yeah, that's great at the end, but that may be too late for council to determine or budgeting for whatever other items may coming about for that, the bond measure. But this, if we have
It seems to me there's 2 different types of information here that I'm seeing, and maybe I'm misunderstanding. When I see condition of the storm drains, I expect there's going to be something that's going to sit there, almost like what we're going to do in the next item and say, oh, you know what, this one's corroded, this one's. So there's condition, and then there's capacity, which I think is where the deficiency comes in. Am I viewing that correctly? One's kind of like the shape of what's there, and the other is it big enough to move what it needs to move?
Yeah, so I will defer to Chang on the full analysis there, but you're right. There's 2 different things, but the survey, we're not going to go through, or they're not going to go through every single line to see what the problem is. If there's, a failure, whatever, they're going to do their overall analysis to determine where the hot spots are, not necessarily because of flow, like in the hydrologic modeling, that'll come up later, but where the hot spots are based on talking to staff, where there's issues, where the CMP pipes are, from the plans that we have. Those are the types of things. So, but as far as the modeling, that comes after that. Does that answer that? Okay, so let me go back then to Councilmember Kemp's question about the geodatabase refinement and GIS model training. So the modeling and training, since we handle the GIS in-house, we don't need the training on the system that we have already implemented. So that's where we can take stuff out. The refinement, we already are working with, we have the database set up that thing can be put into there. The information that they're going to collect and put together is going to be in a database that we can merge. So there's not the need for them to refine the database. We're going to be able to have it set up for them.
Understood.
So it's not a duplicate.
In the cost proposal itself, I see the primary vendor and potentially a couple of subcontractors. And one of those subcontractors is Geosyntec. So, oh, yes.
I don't mean to know now like that, but I'm like, oh, man.
Page 53 of 84 of the PDF, to be precise. Is there, and I don't have a problem with that, that's not why I raise it. I'm curious, is there any overlap? Are they in sync, for lack of a better description?
Of what they're doing now.
Yeah.
They completely different groups.
Yeah, well, right. I'm not paying twice for the same analysis.
What they're doing. Deeper.
So based on my understanding, what they're doing now is more like geotechnical groundwater component. What they are proposing with us for this master plan, they're looking for a green infrastructure perspective. Is there any opportunity to combine the stormwater facility with a green infrastructure facility? Look at the potential LID location sites, the benefit of implement LID or reduce storm runoff. They are scoped in this master plan.
So it's purely coincidental. Okay.
Any other questions? Any public comment on this item? Okay, let's bring it back to council. Any discussion or motions? Oh, I didn't, okay, sorry. Come on.
Good evening, everyone.
Members of council, I guess the
Would you
only
please
question.
introduce yourself?
Yes, please. I'm sorry. I'm Scott Rosenberg, 240 Via Romano. I suppose the only question I had is that with the study and the proposed amount of work that I'm looking at here in this memo, is it prudent to include some of the areas that are affected from the Malaga Cove area that have a substantial amount of runoff from what looks to be the building owners in the plaza area? Does it make sense to include catch basins to grab that water that's just sort of running down the street and along with they call Sandbag Lane? That would be my open-ended question for council.
My guess is when staff provides information on hotspots that'll be on the list.
Okay, thank you.
Is that true, Steve?
So part of the system that they have to analyze is not only the deficiencies of the actual material or whatever is failing, but also the capacity of the system. Master plans are oftentimes put together to determine what growth is going to occur in an area, not only from the growth of improvements, but also the growth of runoff. So those will be reviewed because we still have to have the water going to the same spot. Malaga Creek is a large area over here where a lot of the storm drains drain to over there. So sizing of the system will be addressed within the stormwater master plan. It'll be rough guesses or rough design parameters of where things should be installed, but it won't be the actual scope of work. And once it gets to that point where the report is defining what needs to be done, then that's when the scope of work is put together and saying, all right, well, maybe there is another catch basin that's needed here, but it's premature at this point.
Right, it needs to come from the analysis. Okay. All right, council, any other discussion, direction, or do you have a motion for me?
I'm ready to make a motion if there's no discussion. I'll move that we award a professional services contract to Wood Rogers, Inc. for the citywide drainage master plan in an amount not to exceed $520,885, which includes the base proposal of $495,885 plus $25,000 for additional project expenditures. In other words, a contingency, which is approximately 5% of the contract amount, and appropriate $121,000 needed for design, project management, and contingency from the unencumbered general fund for capital projects, and authorize the city manager to execute all contract documents in final form in format as approved by the city attorney.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Look forward to the work.
Appreciate it.
All right, new business. We have item number 10.
Steve's still up there.
I know.
Just hold the podium.
It's your night, man.
He's spending the night. Immediate
could've
drainage
sat there.
repairs. Yeah, do you want
I like standing. It makes me more imposing or something. I don't know.
Imposing. We're not.
Yeah, what engineers are imposing, I guess.
to take it away, sir?
Okay, so at one of the previous council meetings, in fact, I think it was the October 8th one where we discussed the stormwater master plan. One of the requests from council was to look into what other drainage deficiencies do we have. Now, if you can go back and look at the Malaga Cove groundwater intrusion item, the stormwater master plan, all these are tied together. The information that we presented here in this report is really just a combination of items that we've received from whether the residents, staff observations, the public works staff going out there, people calling into the public works department saying there's a hole in the street or the street keeps getting worse. It's just a combination of things. So it's not a completely exhaustive list of all the locations that we have issues with. It's items that within the last couple of years that I've been made aware of, as well as items that were being discussed probably a decade ago. Maybe didn't go any further. Maybe they started and stopped. I can't say for certain. But I saw things all the way back in 1998 for stormwater projects that were constructed. And anyway, so the list I presented here, they're the top 5 items that I've identified. Item number 1 is the Torrance Boundary Trail. For obvious reasons, in fact, if you look in the report, I did include a picture. This is on sheet 1 of 6 for all the maps. You can see a picture up in the left-hand corner there of what looks to be a trail. So that occurred last December, and there's a couple other locations that we've identified as well. The public works crew tried putting in some gravel to try to minimize that, but there's additional work that's needed. And the maps, if you can look through, you can see that the numbers correspond with the numbers on page 2 of the staff report. So that's that one item on Torrance Boundary Trail. The other ones, 2 through 5, those are primarily locations that have pavement depressions that are evident and or growing. And what I mean by that is that there's sags in the street. So we've identified that there's a sag in the street and there's a storm drain or lateral under it or very, very close to it. And so those are, it may look like those costs are a lot for a small piece of pipe, but once you get down there, we had issues on Via Cataluna, I want to say about a year ago, where we had some sinking. You'll notice on here, there's 2 other locations on Via Cataluna. That pipe over there is a 36-inch corrugated metal pipe put in probably 50 years ago, 60 years ago, that is at its lifespan. And as soon as we opened it up down there, you can see that there's an issue where the pipe just fell apart or disintegrated. And as soon as you start digging a little bit more, you end up seeing, oh, there's another piece. You have to either close your eyes with blinders or you keep digging. So even though they look simple, 50 linear feet. I mean, if you think of a piece of pipe, 2 sticks of pipe, maybe it's $5,000 total for those 2 sticks of pipe, but there's a lot more that goes into that. So anyway, the recommendations we have for the top 5, Torrance Boundary Trail, 2 through 5, sags in the street, which obviously affect the driving public, pedestrians walking, and then Lucera Circle, I think was the other one. Make sure.
Yeah, number 15.
Yeah, okay. So there's another picture on that first page, page 1 of 6. The opposite side of the page, you can see what that looks like over there. And that drains off into the city of Torrance. It's in a ravine that is extremely difficult to get to. And we really have to kind of poke around and find out more of where that water is coming from too. We've done some video analysis of it, and we know that it's coming from Lucera Circle and going out, but we can't just put a piece of pipe back there. You put a pipe back there, you're concentrating the flow. Where is that flow gonna go? So we could be lucky the fact that this pipe is corroded because it's not concentrated. It's flowing in multiple directions.
You had mentioned that for Lucera Circle, you kind of did some videoing and you are trying to figure out what's going on there. On the Torrance Boundary Trail, do you know what caused that chasm? And so that when we put in a solution, it's not going to happen again. Do we know what the genesis of that was?
In the area of that one picture, you can see that there's a white pipe sticking in from the side, which is not installed by the city. So I'm sorry.
That's nice.
So we are pursuing that through a code case as well. And I'm not saying that that's the reason why it happened. We had a large amount of rain that occurred back at in the last year, as well as the beginning of this year, which you get one pebble moving and it just kind of goes along with it. There's a lot of other locations throughout the trail that we did have some minor erosion that got into the street. All the work crews were able to get back at it and clean it. But
Is your expectation though that the solution that's put in at the Torrance Boundary Trail will be able to handle if we have another heavy rain this year or next year or 5 years from now? Is that what the intent is?
that's the goal, yeah.
Matching the hole.
Yeah, and we have to go down a real fine line there because we can't just throw dirt back in there, nor rock, because it'll just wash away. We also can't put steps in there because as soon as we do that, then we make it inaccessible. So we have to really kind of look at how we're going to fix that to make it stable, but also make it accessible.
And this is definitely 100% PVE issue. There's no help from Torrance here.
Do we know if there are houses there?
It kind of sounds like that's behind Luke's house. What did you do over there, Luke?
Does he have a koi pond? You can train your koi pond?
Yeah, yeah, is this totally an us problem or is this a shared problem?
The drainage that comes off of any of the Torrance properties.
Because they're higher, right?
Yeah, and they drain to the front. They drain to the streets in front, to the north.
Are they slow?
Yeah, they're sloped back that way. Now, granted, anything's possible that they could have regraded the back of their property. Haven't checked that though. There are other locations along the trail. If you go further east, I can't think of the name of the street, but there is a street that parallels the trail, which is lower than the trail. And those residents on Torrance had requested that we fix the trail because the dirt runs off onto their property. So it is a mixture, but typically they've been higher and they drain out to the street to the north.
Can we talk a little bit about the sagging roads?
Sure.
Sure.
Interesting use of language.
Well, yeah, I drove around and I visited all but two of these today, and a handful of these I'm definitely like, oh yeah, we need to do something. And others I'm just like scratching my head. And so on some of these ones that are cited as having sags in the street, I couldn't detect the sag, and so I'm trying to figure out. I'd like just a little bit more context around the sags, and do we know what causes them? Have we been able to video them? Do we know that it's a storm drain issue or something else? And then my other question is, and what's the what's the urgency of fixing these versus if we don't fix it, what's the risk? So can you just give us a little tutorial on sagging streets?
So let's go to the last part of the question first.
Okay.
The concern of why are we going and doing these versus others? Well, we've looked at it as that these are ones within a road where it could affect pedestrians and or vehicles.
So is the risk like a sinkhole or?
No,
It's not like the ski jump on PV Drive South, right? It's, you go along and you're just sort of,
Who named that the ski jump after all?
I don't know.
We just noticed that on some of these, it's increasing, the depth of it. And it's more of, you don't want your pavement going down in any certain way. And what we've done then is to go back even, the question before that is, we've looked at where these are located and trying to see, okay, is there a permit that was issued there recently? Gas company, Edison, Cal Water, whatever, nothing there. Then we look at the plans to see what it is that's around there. And sure enough, they're either around a catch basin or around a lateral or storm drain pipe. And that's where we come down to the idea that there's an issue out there. Now, regardless of whether or not there is an issue to the pipe, the pavement has to be fixed. At least that's my recommendation. You've got an issue with potential road failure there. And not that anybody's going to go into it, or we're not going to have a sinkhole, but we're going to have issues in the public right of way with people driving through those. So
See, I guess that's why I'm confused, because like I had to go 3 times along Campesina here, and I still couldn't find the 2475 sag between 2 manholes. I've seen the one on Via Cornell. I've seen the one in Las Vegas. That definitely needs to be done. So I saw those. I couldn't really see a depression at 2100 Paseo Del Mar. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. We call these immediate needs. And just like Walker told us we had immediate needs for City Hall, and here we are 18 months later, and they must not have been that immediate. It's still there. So I'm just trying to grapple with, this is a big list. If you take all of them, it's $2.6 million. We don't have that really kind of sitting around anywhere. And so I'm just trying to understand what truly is urgent. What can we put off as we figure out our revenue situation? So that's what I'm trying to grapple with. Because I drive, I was driving on Monte Malaga. Now, you want to talk about a sag in the road. I was just like, oh, okay, now there's a sag. I wonder what our PD's doing about this.
Well, I mean, and actually, piggybacking off of that, it's just in the context of the master plan. So what really makes, are some of these putting the cart before the horse before we get the master plan to really know what our prioritization is? Like when you say, okay, you gotta fix a sag, you don't want to have a road failure, right-of-way failure, okay, but are we talking failure in a month? Are we talking failure in a year, 5 years? What, so how do we know that? And should we wait till we have the master plan? Like how do you?
So you had 2 questions there that I could.
At least 2 questions I realized after I said it. Sorry.
So I'm gonna go back to the one that I heard. We were talking about the master plan. Should we, how do we prioritize?
We marry those.
So if you recall, we were talking about the master plan, that the first half of the master plan that they can provide information on is the material deficiencies. That's probably the easiest way to say it, as opposed to saying the pipe is falling apart. It's like the one on Lucero Circle. That's a no-brainer. You see it, that's falling apart. The master plan is not necessarily for that. Master plan is going to look at your system as a whole for the entire city. It's going to say, all right, your hotspots are here because you have flooding in this area. Why is it flooding? An example would be over on Villa La Silva. 3705, I think is the address. We were just recently fixed a catch basin because the water wouldn't drain in the street. It was at a low point and it kept draining over the curb. That's something that they may identify as a hotspot, but then we'd have to investigate it further. In this case, we didn't have the master plan to go by, but we knew that something was happening out there. And sure enough, we found out the pipe was broken, pipe was connected, whatever it was to fix it and going forward. The projects that are listed here, I look at those as not something that a master plan would necessarily be for. Yes, they'd be identified, but these are things that we've encountered through resident concerns. There was the one, let's see, 2100 Paseo Del Mar, depression in bluff and street, existing pipe outfall from the bluff approximately 1,500 feet. Part of that is not even visible from where you're on the street. It's the bluff that's going over.
Like going out the bluff, right?
Yeah. So those things, I'm sure that the Spermer master plan would pick it up, but those are things that staff before me had identified. And so now to go forward to your, I think your last question was, well, how do we know? What if we don't do these now? What if the items after 5, except for Lucero Circle, have been around for a while. How long? I can't really tell. But there's some low hanging fruit down at the bottom or in the middle of the page there. We have a wood lid on the catch basin. And wood doesn't work well with water. I don't know how that ever got put there in the first place, but it's not a matter of just taking the wood off and putting some concrete on there, but it's been there for a while. So do we do that now?
What does replace a wood lid? What should that properly look like?
A reconstructed catch basin.
Which is made of
concrete.
So that's the reason for the price tag. I was like, how come a wood lid cost 15 grand? I'm like,
yeah,
just make it in the shop.
I'd like to make a couple of comments. I understand the questions about the master plan here, but I think I'm gonna go up even higher than the master plan. Because this is only dealing with some of the critical issues that you've identified that are in our community. If you go back, and I'll pick on one as an example, when we had the roadway issues in looking at the index, and they were talking about Palisbury Drive West and the fact that the pavement is deteriorating. It has nothing to do with the storm drains, but it's a major need that needs some addressing, or it's going to be more costly as we go forward. And what my encouragement is to our Public Works Department is that we have got to begin. We probably can't do it immediately or get it all done in one pass, but we need to identify all of these, the 15 that are on this list, plus all the ones that may deal with streets, that may deal with water in Malaga Cove, that may deal with, sanitary sewer issues. And, we need to get a global inventory of the challenges that we're facing. And I'll make a couple of comments. The one on here, number 12, 2900 Paseo Del Mar, that's obviously near and dear to my heart because it's right in front of my house. But
never mind, we're not doing it.
That's the most.
Never mind, we're not doing it.
I know. But that's also where half the streets that was missing. And that's been on the list ever since I got on the council, and it was on there beforehand. And it's one of these items that we keep kicking down the road and we don't address. But we don't know what the risks are associated with it until we wake up one morning, as I remember the morning when the street went down into Christmas Bay, or Christmas Tree Cove, excuse me. And, it became a one-way street. How much more of that, I don't know. But my encouragement is, I think you've got 4 or 5, immediate projects like the Torrance boundary. I don't know how we cannot put some money towards that immediately, and maybe a couple of the others. But I do think that as we think prospectively, and we look at public works challenges, we've got to identify all of these, and we've got to put them on the table. Eventually, we're going to need to prioritize. Is it more important to repair Palos Verdes Drive West than it is to fix the 2900 Paseo Del Mar?
Yes. I gotta keep the humor going on, sorry.
I appreciate that. But I use that as an example because we have got far more needs than we are going to have ability to deal with it in a realistic time frame. But we have to start prioritizing and inventorying.
So before we go too far around direction, is there any public comment on this item? No, okay. That's part of where I was going, David, is I'd like to understand what are those immediate things that we need to do. Torrance boundary, yes. Lucero Circle, yes. Via Las Vegas, yes. I mean, a car can bottom out there.
Well,
The other
Lucero
ones-
Circle's not really.
Well, it's like eroding the whole hillside.
It's not on his priority list.
It was in the staff report. He said 1 through 5 and 15, right?
Yeah,
1 through 5 and 14.
No, 14's like 10 grand.
I know, that's why I like.
Oh, 14. 3900 B Rivera drainage channel lid needs, oh, I'm sorry, yes, the drainage channel lid, that's basically between RPB and PBE.
Yeah.
There was one of those diamond steel plates that covers a channel going across, and for some reason it's missing. So,
Your priority, 14 and not 15?
I'm sorry, yes, 14 was a priority because of the fact that it's a pedestrian issue, much like 1 through 5.
Yeah, so it's 1 through 5 and 14.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, I'm sorry.
The answer to that question, I think what we ought to ask Steve and the Public Works to come back with, take these top 5 priorities, drill down a little bit more on what is really going to be required. Are these estimates good estimates? And then come back to us so we can begin to start ticking them off. I think that the Torrance boundary one, that trail is, I'm worried about letting that go through this winter without.
To be clear, are you asking him to proceed with getting those items bid so that he can have real cost estimates? Or are you asking?
Do we have enough of the definition of the request for remediation right now that you could take it to bid?
We need to do a little bit further investigation on every single one of these.
That's what I assume. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, then what's the action?
Let me jump in here. The point of bringing this to you was, provide direction, but also to, bring this out to you. This started for me on an email from a Torrance resident, about the Torrance boundary trail. And then I started asking staff, and then they took me out there, and I was like, oh my lord, this is crazy, what's going on here? I don't know why it's not been addressed, and I'm not throwing stones at anybody. But as we started talking about it, it takes time and money just to even investigate. It takes, if it's internal staff time or HR Green staff time or whomever, to put it. And so we wanted to bring this to the council. I asked them they came up with a big list. Obviously, we can't tackle all those. They prioritized 1 through 5 and 14.
Yeah.
So that's 6 that staff is recommending that we do something about now. Now is not tomorrow, but now is the council fully understands that staff's going to be working on this. You're going to start seeing some activity around this. I asked about, I think it was the via Las Vegas. Why I went to Torrance Boundary, I go, what are the candlestick cones with the caution tape around it? They go, oh, there's a street savvy. I'm like, how long has that been there? A couple months. Like, what's our plan? We don't know. So that's why this is in front of you. So I think all we're looking for tonight is if you can concur with staff's recommendation, 1 through 5 and 14. We don't have money set aside for this. We don't have anything, but we will get working on it and we will keep you appraised. And at some point, we'll bring an appropriation to handle it.
Go ahead. We'll just go down the road.
Did you say down the road?
Not road.
The sagging
road. Sagging road.
In all seriousness, I think honestly the answer to your question is because of the lack of funding sources over the years, going back to, Measure D and before, and I'll even go back further, there was a utility tax. I don't remember the year, Donna, it was in your presentation, maybe.
Until 2003.
There you go. So, that was there. Why at that time they chose not to renew it or they didn't have support for it, I don't know, but.
Because they did a
Well, it
sewer
flipped
tax.
to a sewer tax.
Okay,
Then it stopped in 2013.
okay.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
So now we'll go to 2013. Why do we?
And then we-
Anyway, the point is, and this sort of coincides with David's comments. It's very difficult as both a resident and a council member to sit here and look at all this because the natural reaction, I'll just pretend I'm sitting in the audience, do all of it. Right? It's crazy. No, we don't want this, and this. It's crazy. Go do it all. Oh, what's our funding source? So the answer is we need to do all of it. And I have a feeling these are just the ones that we found and we don't know about the rest, right?
He did some checking. It sounds.
There's a lot more that has to be.
I'm not checking anybody under. I'm just saying it's, the fiscal impact is probably greater than this. And I'm not, just looking to invent taxes or invent new whatever, but we need to address the whole problem holistically and actually really solve it.
But there's also items that he said have been on there since 1998, and we haven't dealt with them, and, so far we're fine. I mean, maybe that's, crossing your fingers. I mean, I could more see, and so my only hesitation with what Carrie's comment was, if we say, yeah, 1 through 5 and number 14, and we think that's about your list says it has it at 550,000, okay, we can probably come up with 500,000, yeah, okay. But then you go off and start doing it and come back and say, oh, remember the 550, really, that was $1 million. So I think that's the only thing that makes me afraid. And so for me, I mean, what about the end? Because there is, as we all know, there is also a human bandwidth issue of actually getting things done, right? You're just our physical ability of being able to get stuff done. And we're, what are we, a little over a quarter into the fiscal year? I mean, I'd probably say, okay, yep, 1 through 5 and 14, not to exceed 500,000 or 600, whatever the number, but a number that says, look, in this fiscal year, we're willing to come up with this much more and stretch it as far as you can. I don't know. I'd probably, right. You heard it. I don't want you to go down this road of these 6 items and then think that we've said, okay.
I'd like to disagree a little bit with that.
Okay.
I don't have any problem. I think they need to do the further analysis and research in order to get to a more finite number. I don't want to say, here's $500,000 tonight and go with that. I want them to come back by these 5 or 6 projects individually. And if you come in with 1 or 2 of them at a time, that's fine with me too. But we understand in more detail what it is that it's going to cost to remediate these issues.
6 items, yeah. No, I agree with that. I was more trying to say, don't think that we just said, yeah, fine, go off and do those 6 at any cost.
No, we're not hearing that.
I don't
Yeah,
want to give them a
okay.
cost number now. I want to get more.
One other suggestion, we're gonna go to this effort. Don't mess around with the $10,000 and $15,000 items, just get them off the list.
Wouldn't you just rather get, like you've been said, oh, there's all this low hanging fruit. It's like, and maybe cheap doesn't mean quick and easy. I'm probably thinking, okay, cheap must mean quick and easy, but maybe it doesn't. But
I'm just trying to
Just
say,
like
Steve,
get it off the
from having to
list.
step up
Check
here
it
again
off.
and tell us why we have wood lids.
I mean, that's what normally would be on our annual repair list, right?
Repairs,
Like we did at Zumaya, we did other places. I'm somewhere kind of here in between Victoria and David. I do, I would like to see a little bit more analysis, at least on a couple of the 1 through 5s, just because, as I said, I drove around and I couldn't tell what the issue was, and other residents are, some residents are gonna say, yeah, do it all, and others are gonna say, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong here. It's perfectly fine. So
Yeah,
let's do the
they'll be the first ones to
additional
blame us when it
analysis
washes out.
to justify it. Well, but then you've got the justification that this is why we're doing it. And then I also agree that what we really need to be doing is, especially since a number of these have been on the list for a long time, is we need to develop that list in concert with our master plan and be able to go to the residents and say, hey guys, I want to talk to you about our drainage issues. And we know we have a lot of rain. And here's the list that we've compiled. And as a result, between this and these great people that we hired to do a master plan, we need to come up with X number of dollars. And let's talk about how we can fund that. And my guess is, I wasn't paying that much attention back then, but my guess is in 2003, that was the conversation that resulted in a sewer tax. And that's why we still have a little bit of money in the sewer fund. And so we haven't done anything for 11 years, and now it's time to do this with this, and then we'll have to do the same thing with the roads and the same thing with the sewers. But we need to develop that list and let residents know this is what it costs in order to keep your city smooth.
Madam Mayor, if I could add just one thing too. A lot of that is shown in the CIP document and the fact that it's unfunded.
I'm guessing we have the list.
It's not as, but to answer the question earlier too, well, if these are on a list, why aren't we addressing them? The point is, we do have that list. We have a finite amount of money each year.
Well, I know why we're not addressing them.
Oh,
because we don't find out about money in bid.
And people.
But we have addressed some of them in the sense that this last year with Zumaya and Villa Silva. People may laugh at the fact that, okay, there's a wood lid on the catch basin, because I did when I first saw it. But But it's not as easy as just picking that lid up and putting something back. There's a lot more to it. It's a tiny little box, but where does it go? What is it connected to? Why is it even there? So that's what I'm saying. You can see that there's a wood lid there, but as I found out the hard way, there's a lot of things around here that weren't necessarily done the way you would normally, maybe engineering wise do. So that's all. I mean, it's,
I have two more questions.
Go ahead, add one after you. Okay.
So one of my questions is, so we talked about the sagging streets, and then a number of these talk about just replacing certain number of feet of storm drain and catch basins. What's the issue there, and how did, why are they on the list?
there's some videos that were
Side.
done in previous time, in the past, that showed the pipe was failing or it was corroding. I don't list on here what type of pipe they are, but on these larger sections, the vast majority is this corrugated metal pipe or CMP. And that has a lifespan of about 50 years. And some of these locations it's much longer than that, and it just corrodes out. So I don't have the exact, location of the video, but the
Was
staff.
there a video that shows it? I was trying to figure out how do you know that a pipe under the road is corroded. So
Yeah, because there have been videos over time, that we just have a long laundry list of them.
Okay, actually, I have two more questions. The item number 16, PV Drive West, the 300 block. Is that part of the area that's getting redone this year?
No. So this one, it was actually a very interesting item that was listed. The county provided this. And the county said there's a 42-inch drain line that connects off into their system. And I don't know if it's an MTD, which is a miscellaneous transfer drain that was transferred over to the county or not. I couldn't find that. But the county said that if you have a 42-inch pipe and you have a lot of debris that keeps getting in there, and that by putting in a debris basin, that would solve the problem of all that debris getting into the storm drain system and potentially causing issues downstream or waterborne issues. So this is a suggestion. It's not a bad suggestion, but you can see the cost.
Would better street sweeping solve that?
This is over a larger area that's draining to it. So I can't answer that about street sweeping.
I just noticed a lot of stuff along the gutters and right along all the storm drains.
The picture they showed me was pretty intense about the 2/3 of the way of the pipe that was filled with dirt and debris and everything else.
So this was a county suggestion, the county suggests that we do this?
Yes.
This sounds like a Janice Hahn promise. Just saying.
Okay, my last question is, item number 13, via Montemar clean out existing debris basin. And you
Yes.
just talked about cleaning out debris. Isn't that what we hired Ron's maintenance to do, clean out?
Not this. This is a debris basin, like so the debris basin is a large area that's going to collect and allow water to kind of perk out. The dirt will sit in there and can be cleaned out over time. We have a couple of these throughout town. This one, I think, actually has been cleaned out in the past. Anthony's crews were aware of it, but there's a large area that has to be cleaned out. And the construction, to jump over to item number 16, would be a very similar thing. The intent is to collect the debris there and clean it out. But if you collect the debris and you don't clean it out, then you have problems.
And we have to actually hire someone to do that. That's not something that in-house staff can do like they did on Aqua or whatever.
It's a good question because it was presented on a list prepared by public works staff some time ago. So I'm sure that's something that could be asked.
Your turn.
Oh, sorry, quick question. In your staff report in the financial impact, you talk about that we don't have any appropriation this fiscal year for this type of project, but we do have a $275,000 appropriation for next year.
Yeah, in
Is that really appropriated, or does that just mean it's on a plan? There's projects on a plan. It's on a plan, right? We didn't actually appropriate it, did we?
No,
Yeah, I
we have to
didn't
do
think
one
so.
year at a time.
That's what I thought. So that's when you said it was appropriated. I was like, when did we do that?
Should be
Okay, It's just, yeah, where was I?
So we could move that.
Well, that's half the money. But it's not appropriated for, if it were appropriated, I would say, okay, hey, move it from that year to this year, but it's not.
Can I jump
But you
in?
can still use that
Can
money.
I jump in here real quick?
Yes, sir.
We are not asking for money tonight.
No.
I know, but you're going to, but you're gonna.
We're 2 steps ahead.
Yeah, but we don't want to start.
Okay.
I don't know. We just really, the whole point of this was to, look, nobody wants to bring bad news. But as I said, we want the council to know that we're identified these. We want the community to know that we're aware of these now, and we're going to start addressing them. And when you start seeing movement on this, and some of this might not come back for months, it might come back in a month, but you guys will get multiple bites at the apple.
Well, my recommendation, or put it in, if we need a motion, I'll do it that way too, is that we ask that these 5 or 6 items be further and analyzed and researched, and a status report come back to the council as soon as that information is available. And it does not have to mean that all of them have to be done at once. You can bring them piecemeal, but I would put personally, #1 priority on the Torrance boundary situation because of the time of year that we're in and the severity of the problem. And I think we need to address them one at a time, and the chips are gonna have to fall as they may.
Do you actually need a motion or do you just need
I
direction?
think it was just direction, right? It's just an update.
I agree with
Is
that
that
direction.
adequate?
Agree. Okay. Are we done with this item? All right.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. You can take a look.
He's still standing there now.
Oh, Steve.
Why is he still standing there?
There might be more.
Okay, council member reports and tentative agenda items. Anyone? I have one, while you guys are thinking. This is a tentative agenda item. You know, e-bikes have been a common topic among residents, and I know PD has been actively putting on education programs. I see in the Daily Breeze that a number of cities have adopted ordinances related to e-bikes. And, you know, I'd be interested in having an agenda item where staff advises us on whether this is something our city should be pursuing, right? All right, so we have 3 nodding heads for a future agenda item.
Just,
Just
I'm gonna
add it
ask,
to
I'm gonna ask the famous words, because there's a few things we've done here over time that I regret. Is it enforceable? Whatever we do, is it enforceable?
And that's, I think, what part of the advice should come from as he looks at what Manhattan Beach, Hermosa, and RPD.
Well,
just did.
RPV, yeah, I mean, that's the most direct one, so, yeah.
We can bring options.
RPV.
Thank you, but I agree with Councilmember Kemp that if we're not gonna, if we can't enforce it, then save ourselves.
One of the immediate questions for consideration, as you pull together the report, is on-road, off-road.
That was me. Someone else? No. Nobody else has anything to report out?
No.
No one's done any really cool stuff?
Not that they want to report out.
All right, well, I think this is.
David and I both worked very hard on the 2 items that were in the consent agenda for the golf club, so we're very appreciative of your approval.
Yes.
And not pulling it. All right, with that, I adjourn our meeting here at 8:15 p.m.
Thanks for coming in.
Good job.
Great.